This video was created for an interactive media assignment for educational purposes only. All characters and audio used belong to the rightful copyright owners and will be removed upon request of said owners. All characters and assets were created/recreated using Adobe software first-hand by our creative team and have not been stolen from other sources. Hello, I'm Stefan.
And I'm Ross.
And we'll be taking you through the 12 principles of animation.
In this video, we will explain the 12 principles of animation as we follow the adventures of a Simpsons character. It seems we only have one character we can pick from at the moment, so let's select Homer and get this adventure started.
Okay, so the first principle we will look at is solid drawing. Solid drawing is how our character is drawn into the scene. It is important to use volume, weight and balance to make your character look three-dimensional and as lifelike as possible. Following on, let's look at how the scene is presented, i.e. staging. Staging is the way to present the scene to get the point across in the most effective manner. So if, say, you want your audience to follow a certain character, like Homer, you start with a close-up angle of the character and then pan out to reveal the whole scene. The audience will concentrate on that character and then follow them throughout.
Homer is in the kitchen for one specific reason, the fridge. He wants a nice cold Duff beer.
Beer.
But he is only finding empty cans. Homer throwing these cans is the perfect way to explain another principle of animation. Arcs. In real life, almost everything natural moves in arcs, especially anything that is thrown. This is the same in animation, so instead of a beer can flying up in the air in a straight diagonal line and coming back down in another, you use curved lines to make the throw more lifelike. Homer couldn't find any beer. He is off to the Quickie Mart to buy some more. Since there is a moving background in this scene, we will explain the principles of timing. The background is positioned behind Homer and set to repeat over and over, giving the effect of motion. Depending on how many times this action is repeated, determines how fast or how slow said action will appear. So with an increased amount of repetitions, the faster it appears to be going.
As you see Homer drive into the car park, you can see one half of the next principle in action. He's in and he's out. As Homer pulls into his parking space, the car decelerates and comes to a stop. This looks more realistic as the car would stay at the same pace throughout the whole scene and instantly stop, looking very unnatural. So Homer is finally at the Quickie Mart and is walking down an aisle when he gets distracted by something. Donuts.
Donuts.
We get a close-up on Homer's face and he starts drilling. This is anticipation. The audience are expecting an action to follow on from this scene because they have been made aware of the donuts, but it is not obvious what he will do next. And to no surprise, Homer is performing an action with the donut. Good thing all that anticipation wasn't for nothing. There are two ways you can animate this action, using the next principle of straight ahead animation and pose to pose animation. Straight ahead animation is exactly as it sounds. You start animating the action from the last pose bit by bit. This ensures all the right proportions are kept, but can mean the final resting pace of an action can be slightly off in the scene. As for pose to pose animation, the start and end poses of the action are set in the exact place you want them, but can mean you lose proportions of the object when moving between the poses.
Okay, on to the next principle, exaggeration. Exaggeration can be used in two ways to either emphasize what is happening on the screen or used in extreme cases to make the scene more fun and cartoonish. Obviously Homer's tongue would not be able to reach this far out of his mouth, but this is The Simpsons after all. It's a cartoon and exaggeration is used to give scenes humour.
Okay, don't
Wait,
try anything
what's that
funny.
commotion I hear with a poo?
Woohoo!
This is just a story filler. We won't be explaining any principles in this scene,
Yoink.
but that doesn't mean there wasn't any used in it.
Thank you, come again.
Right, so Snake has just robbed the Quickie Mart and is stealing Homer's car. He needs to drive away, so let's revisit ease in and ease out again. Like in real life, the car does not just instantaneously start moving at a fast speed. It has to slowly accelerate before it gains speed. The same goes for animation. Cars should move slowly and then speed up.
Oh look, here's Ralph playing with his ball. Ralph is a perfect person to explain the next principle of appeal. Appeal is adding personality to the character and making the audience feel an emotional connection with the character.
I'm special!
Whether that be joy, hatred, adoration, etc. Appeal towards a character can be created by the way they move, talk, act, the facial expressions they make, or in Ralph's case, the stuff he says.
My cat's breath smells like cat food.
as it bounces away from him and demonstrates the next principle of squash and stretch. Squash and stretch is related to how objects and body parts get resized when they interact with another object in the scene. Squash and stretch means that when you scale it down on the one axis, you should scale up in the opposite axis. So when Ralph's ball hits the ground, it is squashed vertically and stretched horizontally. Then when it is travelling through the air, it stretches vertically and is squashed horizontally.
In this scene we are going to explain the final two principles of animation, follow through and secondary action. Secondary action supports the main action. For example, a snake slams the brakes, trying not to hit Ralph. The back end of the car rises off the ground, so the main action is the car stopping, and the secondary action is the rear end rising up. As for follow through, this principle means that anything that is not tied down or anything that loosely hangs is going to move slightly or a lot depending on how harsh the movement. This principle applies to the bag of money that was not tied down in the car, and since this car stops suddenly and the back end rises, the bag follows through and flies out of the car and into Ralph's hands.